Welcome everyone. Today we'll be fixing the Kanto Elite Four and Champion. Seriously, he acts strong, but just look at this team member. This will be within the Generation 1 games, and if you've watched my Fixing Kanto's Gym Leaders video, you'll realise how limited we are in Pokemon and moves. But hey ho, that's where half the fun is, I'd say. By the way, I've not stated this before, but my difficulty goal is to essentially be a hard mode option. This isn't what I think the difficulty should have originally been, but if Pokemon ever did difficulty modes, this would be the hard or hardest mode available. Also, let's have a question of the day. Is there an Elite Four member or champion that you recall being particularly weak or particularly strong? I'd say for me, I recall Bruno being easy. You'll see as we get into this. And maybe a bit of a cop-out, but Cynthia as a kid was incredibly tough for me and my 5 IQ strats. Anyway, once you've watched the video, if you've enjoyed it, hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It helps out a ton and lets me know I'm doing something right. It's the first Elite Four member ever in all of Pokemon. It's Lorelei. She specialises in ice types and technically water types, as she has an even 4 team members belonging to both types. While you don't see her at all outside of this room in the game, in the Fire Red and Leaf Green remakes, you find her on Fort Island, her hometown, with an Icefall Cave beating up a Rocket Grunt. Anyway, Lorelei leads off with a Dugong at level 54. It knows Growl, Aurora Beam, Rest and Takedown. First of all, I hope you're aware of the soft lock you can cause here. Essentially, if you have a low level Mankey and use Rage, you'll be locked into it forever without burning through PP, because Gen 1 moment, and the Dugong will spam Rest without burning PP, because again, Gen 1 moment. A true, never-ending battle. Spray has made a good video on this, by the way. You should definitely watch it if you haven't already. Okay, now this set, I have to say, is pretty bad. No Water Stab, Mid Stab in Aurora Beam, and Rest is just a liability if you send out a Pokemon weak to Psychic moves. Shameful start for the Elite Four, I'd say. Next out is Cloyster at level 53, which knows Supersonic, Clamp, Aurora Beam, and Spike Cannon. This is definitely a bit better than Dugong. Clamp might seem bad with its mere 75% accuracy, but it's essentially just a water-type rat that has traded accuracy for power, aka you can't attack for 2 to 5 turns, effectively making this a 70 to 175 base power move. Again, Aurora Beam is mid, and Spike Cannon is just an underwhelming normal type move. Oh, and well, Supersonic is peak unreliability. Third on her roster is Slowbro, at level 54, knowing Growl, Water Gun, Withdraw, and Amnesia. Now, this moveset is pretty shameful. To be fair, we do have Amnesia, which is essentially just 2 Calm Minds in 1, so very busted, but we only have a measly, an absolutely sickening base 40 power move in Water Gun to utilise it. Quick reminder that Gen 1 Pokemon usually have their 4 latest level up moves, and Slowbro actually would learn Psychic at level 55, so if Lorelei had just trained a smidgen more, she'd have a very capable fighter on her hands. As it is, Slowbro can potentially stall for a bit, but not actually do much damage to the player's team. Next up is Jinx. At level 56, it knows Double Slap, Ice Punch, Body Slam, and Thrash. Yes, Jinx is notorious for its physical attack stat, I suppose. Glad to see it has 3 normal moves, 2 of which are pretty whack. At least we have 1 decent move in Ice Punch. Out last is our ace. A Lapras at level 56, knowing Body Slam, Confuse Ray, Blizzard, and Hydro Pump. Well, I'd say her ace is her best Pokemon. That's something at least. And with Lapras' decent attack and special attack, I can actually appreciate this mon having moves on both sides of the spectrum. Also, you might think having both Blizzard and Hydro Pump just spells constant missing, but in Gen 1, Blizzard has a respectable 90% accuracy. It is up there for one of the best moves in Gen 1 for sure. So, overall, Lorelei has some serious flaws, and while her ace carries a little bit, it isn't going to carry a full battle by itself. Let's see how we can make her team a potent threat to start the player's Elite Four run. To start with, we're going to close the gap slightly in levels for the Elite Four members again. Lorelei's ace is originally 56 and Blue's ace is 65. While maintaining the level cap of 65 will make these earlier Elite Four members feel closer to on par with each other. So with that being said, let's bump her Dugong from level 54 to 57 and give it the moves Surf, Ice Beam, Body Slam, and Growl. Pretty straightforward moveset, 2 good stab options and Body Slam to hit any water types its stabs can't handle. Also, we have Growl to debuff a bit, since honestly Dugong's moveset doesn't really have the tools at its disposal that an NPC under the good AI mechanic can utilise effectively. Next out we have Cloyster at level 57, knowing Clamp, Ice Beam, Tri-Attack and Explosion. So the plan here is to be a bit cheeky with Clamp, have a good Ice Beam or go to the nuke move in Explosion. I also gave Tri-Attack to prevent the players with Haunters and Gengars exploiting the AI trying to force an explosion. After that, there's Slowbro at level 58, knowing Serve, Psychic, Fire Blast and Amnesia. This lad here is just a setup sweeper. With high HP and defense, it'll likely survive a physical hit, and after one Amnesia, it'll become straight up terrifying. The main flaw, however, is lack of longevity without a healing move and low speed. Out fourth is Jinx at level 58 with Psychic, Ice Beam, Reflect and Lovely Kiss. So Reflect can patch up Jinx's horrid defense, and in Gen 1 the effect is permanent until Jinx faints. And since Jinx has Psychic as well, it's impossible for Jinx to just soft lock itself and spam Reflect. Lovely Kiss is also a solid option, a 75% accurate sleep inducing move from a fairly fast Pokemon. Certainly is concerning if you don't outspeed. Last out we have Lapras at level 59 with the moves Hydro Pump, Blizzard, Thunderbolt and Body Slam. All out offense here, we're taking full advantage of Lapras' move pool and mixed offenses. Also, fun fact, did you know that Lapras can learn Solar Beam in Gen 1? I did not. Also, did you know, for some reason the Elite Four uses Super Potions. They have 2 Super Potions per Pokemon, effectively 10 total, and they have a 1 in 2 chance of using them when their Pokemon is below 20% HP. It's pretty stupid to have Super Potions by this point, so I'd say we should replace those with 1 Hyper Potion per Pokemon, and every Elite Four ace gets a full restore instead. Well, with that, here's Lorelei's team. The members are identical to the original, basically because I agree with the game devs on this one. They used all 4 of the ice types available, excluding Articuno, and Slowbro is just really as good as any other non-ice water type to fill in the 5th team slot. And trust me, I looked at all the Pokemon, none really fit in better. So while this team is fairly scared of electric moves, it kind of felt impossible to play around it. At the very least, this team has excellent stab options as well as access to some of the strongest moves such as Psychic, Amnesia and Blizzard. A good opener, I hope, for the new and improved Elite Four. It's the leader of the Onix fan club. It's Bruno, the fighting type master. If you've seen my fixing Johto's Elite Four video, you'll know I very cleverly and wittily called Bruno Puno in reference to how bad he is. Will he be better in the original Red and Blue games though? So Bruno leads with a classic. It's Onix at level 53. It knows Rock Throw, Rage, Slam, and Harden. Okay, a few questions. Why are you using Rock Throw over Rock Slide? This move has pitiful base power and accuracy. Seriously, only 65% in Gen 1. Also, why don't we have a ground move? Why are we using the horrible moves Rage and Slam? And well, ultimately, why are you even using an Onix? The stats on this lad are real bad. The only way I'd be content seeing an Onix here is if the DVs and Stat XP were completely maxed out, like a competitive Pokemon, and give it the best moves, so maybe, just maybe, it'll put up a fight. Second out is Hitmonchan at level 55, knowing Ice Punch, Thunder Punch, Mega Punch, and Counter. Okay, interesting, and honestly, decent looking moveset for sure. Few issues though. The Elemental Punches are special, and just look at Hitmonchan's special stat. It's worse than Onix's attack stat. Mega Punch is okay, kinda. It's better than Onix's Slam, but not by much. And Counter doesn't work properly due to a bug. Who'd have guessed that one? It only counters back the damage dealt by normal or fighting moves. So if you use flying moves, ground moves, etc., Counter will fail. This Hitmonchan is a good masterclass in how not to design a competent Pokemon. Out third is Hitmonlee at level 55 with Jump Kick, Focus Energy, High Jump Kick and Mega Kick. No surprises, this guy's full of kicking moves. Firstly, some good news though. Jump Kick and High Jump Kick are usable fighting moves. A rare sight for Gen 1. They're both signature moves for Hitmonlee, so rip all the other guys, but at least one fighting type has a decent option. Oh, and the recoil damage you take if you miss? You only take 1 HP of damage no matter what, so the downside is very minor. Mega Kick as well is an alright high risk high return move, 120 base power for 75% accuracy, just a shame it's a normal type move, so no chance of it being super effective on anything. Now for the one bad thing, we have Focus Energy. This move is bugged, and instead of making crits happen more often, it makes it less likely. 4 times more likely to be specific. So worse than a turn doing nothing, you spend a turn making yourself weaker. Out fourth is an identical Onix, except it's now a mighty level 56. Come on guys, where's the Earthquake, Rock Slide, Body Slams? Where are the good moves? Bruno's ace is a Machamp at level 58, knowing Leer, Focus Energy, Fissure and Submission. Right, well, this thing is bad. Submission is like Takedown but worse, 80 base power, 80% accuracy, and causing recoil. But this is typically what fighting types have to use in Gen 1 if you're not Hitmonlee. Thank God they removed this move in Gen 9. Focus Energy is bugged as stated. Leer is, well, Leer, And Fissure only works if Machamp is faster than the trainer's Pokemon, aka not likely. So there's Bruno's team. He's a bit of a meme in the Pokemon community, and now you've been given a proper breakdown as to why he sucks so much. Let's give Bruno the makeover he so desperately wants and see if we can make a bad Gen 1 type feel at least a bit more threatening. To start off with, let's make his lead a Primeape at level 58. Let's give him the moves Low Kick, Karate Chop, Rock Slide and Body Slam. It's actually the fastest fighting type in the game and overall has no horrid stats. So Low Kick in Gen 1 works a bit differently compared to the modern games. Instead of being based on weight, it's 50 base power, 90% accuracy, and 30% chance to flinch. Not great, but for Gen 1 fighting move standards, it's actually up there. And with Primeape's higher speed stat, it could definitely work on some trainers and maybe get a flinch or two. Karate Chop, despite the name, is a normal type move and has a high crit rate. Think of it as a budget slash. It will always crit, so it can be considered a 100 base power attack. Rock Slide is a good way to deal with any bird types, and Body Slam is just a nice neutral move and can paralyze to aid in low kick flinching. And by the way, Rock Slide does not flinch in Gen 1. Out second, we have Hitmonlee at level 58, knowing High Jump Kick, Mega Kick, Meditate, and Seismic Toss. I can hear some people shouting at me right now.
Rory, what about good AI meditates?
Yeah, I hear you. And guess what? Bruno and Agatha, for some reason, are not subject to good AI. That means that for the most part, they will attack randomly, which means we can actually take advantage of moves such as Meditate and not fear it working against Bruno. We kept High Jump Kick and Mega Kick for decent offense, Meditate to boost their attack, and Seismic Toss to output consistent damage. That can also give Hitmonlee a way to hit ghost types, which is pretty much the only way he can do it in Gen 1. Third out is Golem, at level 59 with Earthquake, Rock Slide, Double Edge and Explosion. Fairly straightforward moveset here. You've got the stab options, normal move Slot Filler, and a nuke move in Explosion. Fourth out we have Poliwrath at level 59 with Surf, Ice Beam, Psychic and Amnesia. Poliwrath honestly has an incredible moveset. It has great physical moves like Earthquake and Body Slam, but I've decided to go full special here since every other one of Bruno's Pokemon are physical. Honestly quite a cool Pokemon with no stats I'd consider bad. Outlast is Bruno's ace, Machamp, at level 60. It'll have Low Kick, Earthquake, Rock Slide, and stuff it, Wild Card with Fire Blast. I don't get quite why Machamp has solid fire type coverage, but let's take advantage of it. It's either that or some normal type move filler. So here's Bruno's team. We've streamlined the moves, given solid coverage, turned 2 Onixes into at least a better rock ground type in Golem, and given Bruno a nice special sweeper, Poliwrath. Hopefully now Bruno won't just crumple at the slightest notion of a challenge. It's Agatha, and she's old. Probably older than the ghost type Pokemon she uses. Now, how does one be a ghost type specialist when the only ghost types that exist are the Gengar line? Well, as you'll see, she's actually more of a poison type master. She leads with a Gengar at level 56, knowing Confuse Ray, Nightshade, Hypnosis, and Dream Eater. I mean, this is kind of an interesting set. Fast Confuse Rays and Hypnosis can be annoying. Problem I always have with Dream Eater though, is that the player can just switch out to avoid it, or use an Awakening, which I feel is a more common outcome. Nightshade is just alright. It actually isn't affected by type immunity, so it's nice to have a guaranteed bit of damage Gengar can deal. This also works for Seismic Toss on ghost types, by the way. So not an amazing lead to start with, but Gengar's strong and can be a bit trolly, so it's not awful by any means. Next out is Golbat at level 56 with Supersonic, Confuse Ray, Wing Attack, and Haze. Now this is a sign of a Pokemon that has a bad learn set. Supersonic and Confuse Ray, completely redundant as the AI can't even lose PP in Gen 1. Wing Attack is okay stab you'd think, but Gen 1 Wing Attack is 35 base power. So think of it as a stab tackle. Lastly Haze, I wouldn't really mind if Golbat had the rest of their moveset be good. But yeah, it doesn't round off this set nicely at all. Although I will say Gen 1 Haze actually removes the badge boost for the player, so that's a 12.5% stat Omni drop essentially. Until the Pokemon switches out or levels up, that is. Out third, it's my boy, Haunter at level 55 with the same moveset as Gengar. Look, I'm glad Haunter's in the Elite Four, but then again, 2 Onixes are here, so maybe it's not that prestigious of a position. Next is Arbok at level 58, knowing Bite, Glare, Screech, and Acid. Another non-ghost type. Agatha is really struggling to justify her type specialty here, and what an underwhelming moveset. Bite Glare combo is nice for Power Flinch, except Bite has only a 10% chance in this game, and Acid is a measly 40 base power. Despite that, it's still Arbok's strongest stab option. And yet, even in Gen 1, Arbok got Earthquake and Rock Slide, but not Sludge. Absolute Gen 1 moment. Out comes the ace, Gengar at level 60 with Confuse Ray, Nightshade, Toxic, and Dream Eater. Okay, all they've done is replace Hypnosis with Toxic. So one of the most OP status conditions for one of the worst, at least in this game. And now it can't even utilize Dream Eater without aid from one of its teammates. What a baffling decision to forego Hypnosis. Okay, overall Agatha's team is really lacking. The moveset range from mediocre to real bad. I feel like a lot of her strength relies on the trolly nature of her moves, and Gengar, and Haunter's high special stat making them far bulkier than you think. Agatha's new lead shall be the top lad Haunter, at level 59, knowing Psychic, Thunderbolt, Mega Drain, and Hypnosis. I've gone all out here. I've had to, it's my boy. The plan here is to have a fast lead that can put to sleep, and using its good move typing diversity, score some solid damage to start this battle. Out second is Gengar at level 59 with Psychic, Nightshade, Confuse Ray, and Toxic. So this Gengar is playing a bit more support than the Haunter, aims to stall and spread status, all while being able to deal consistent damage, with Nightshade no matter what Pokemon is on the field. Next up is Marowak at level 60, with Earthquake, Body Slam, Seismic Toss, and Double Team. Marowak isn't that strong of a Pokemon in Gen 1, but it'll offer Agatha some much needed type diversity, as well as it being a bit of a callback to the Marowak the player encounters in Lavender Town's Pokemon Tower. A pretty obvious inclusion, I'd say. Out fourth is Golbat at level 60 with Confuse Ray, Wing Attack, Mega Drain, and Double Edge. So Golbat, like I said, has a bad Gen 1 learn set, but its typing is nice to have on hand for any ground types trying to sweep Agatha. With Confuse Ray and 3 attacks, it's at least far more effective than her original Golbat. Lastly, it's her ace, Gengar at level 61, knowing Psychic, Thunderbolt, Mega Drain, and Hypnosis. It's the same as the lead Haunter, but now it's amped up to a higher level Gengar. If the player struggled at all with the Haunter, then they won't be a fan of this Pokemon hiding in the back. Here it is, Agatha's new team. We've done our best maintaining her having 3 ghost types. It's hard to make varied movesets for a Haunter and 2 Gengars to make them feel different from each other when their move pools are so small. Golbat, while I'm not thrilled being included, it does fit more so than most other poison types, and the ground immunity is nice. And having a Marowak to round off her team is nice to see it get a bit of rep and be a physical attacker for the team. It's time for Lance. If you've seen my Fixing Johto's Elite 4 video or my Pokemon NPCs are cheating video, then you'll know Lance is patient zero for cheating, and is a repeat offender. I'll let you know when we see the illegal Pokemon on his team. Seriously shameful stuff from him. Lance leads with a Gyarados at level 58 with Hydro Pump, Dragon Rage, Leer, and Hyper Beam. Hydro Pump is pretty solid as Gyarados is cracked stat-wise. Its special stat is 100, so it doesn't really suck using special moves like in later gens. Dragon Rage is a bit underwhelming, but it is literally the only dragon move in Gen 1, so I guess he wants to give it a little bit of rep. Leer is lame and Hyper Beam is honestly alright. Hyper Beam, if it nabs a KO on the player's Pokemon, means Gyarados doesn't have to recharge and can just attack again. It's an unintended feature that some people wish Game Freak never changed. Out second is Dragonair, at level 56 with Agility, Slam, Dragon Rage, and Hyper Beam. Well, Lance is good AI, so Agility means fighting or poison types can KO Dragonair for free here, and Dragonair can learn Body Slam. You could argue that Slam is more thematically appropriate, as according to the Pokédex, it slams the foe with a tail. And Dragonair is all tail, but I don't care, it annoys me. And Dragon Rage, Hyper Beam are mediocre and decent for the same reasons I stated with Gyarados. Out third, Lance is really innovating hard here. It's an identical Dragonair, definition of a slot filler I suppose. Out fourth is Aerodactyl at level 60, doing Supersonic, Bite, Takedown, and Hyper Beam. I love an all-normal moveset. Ghastly sends shivers down Aerodactyl's spine. Yeah, Supersonic's bad, Bite is mid, Takedown is bad, especially when Double Edge is right there, and Hyper Beam is decent-ish. Aerodactyl's learn set isn't great or anything, but this is not doing them justice. Finally, here comes the spooky scary ace, Dragonite at level 62 with Agility, Slam, Barrier, and Hyper Beam. Okay, this Dragonite loses to Ghost types, Fighting types, and Poison types. Guaranteed. No win con available. And it loses to pretty much any Rock types, let's be honest. Oh, also, this is the Pokemon with the illegal move. Which one could it be? It's Barrier. An odd choice to illegally give Dragonite that move instead of something epic like Earthquake or even Fly. Yes, Dragonite cannot even use Fly in Gen 1. I think this moveset really underwhelms me since Dragonite is such great special coverage. It'd be cool to see it on full display as the gatekeeper between you and the champion. Let's see if we can tune up his team and make the player's last battle before the champion a proper challenge. Lance's new lead will be Dragonair at level 60 with Body Slam, Surf, Thunderbolt, and Thunder Wave. This Dragonair aims mainly to paralyze the player's Pokemon from the get-go, and Surf exists as a good answer to those rock ground types that otherwise would go basically unchecked. Out second is Gyarados at level 60, knowing Hydro Pump, Fire Blast, Ice Beam, and Hyper Beam. We're taking good advantage of Gyarados' solid special and impeccable learn set. This mon is sure to land some heavy hits if the player doesn't immediately have an electric type at their disposal. Next up is Arbok at level 61 with Earthquake, Rock Slide, Wrap, and Glare. Lance has stolen Agatha's Arbok and made it stronger. Glare Wrap is a nice combo, and you can't complain about Earthquake Rock Slide coverage. After that is Aerodactyl at level 61, knowing the moves Fly, Double Edge, Fire Blast, and Hyper Beam. See? Aerodactyl does actually learn moves that aren't all normal type. Fire Blast isn't going to be super strong with Aero's base 60 special, but I am a fan of this move in Gen 1, because it has a decent burn chance and respectable accuracy for its power. And Double Edge and Hyper Beam will hit hard. Also, due to Aero speed being so high, it has a 25.39% chance to crit any one of its moves. This is due to crit rates being based on the Pokemon speed in Gen 1. Lastly, out comes Dragonite at level 62 with the moves Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, Fire Blast, and Hyper Beam. We've got terrifying special move coverage here, and a Hyper Beam coming from a base 134 attack stat, the highest in Gen 1. This Dragonite is playing no games, and is out for blood. Thunderbolt and Fire Blast ensure it has a super effective move for every ice or water type that maybe has an ice move at their disposal. Ice Beam deals with a Pokemon likely to have rock moves, and Hyper Beam for its raw power should certainly cause some anxiousness in the player. Here's Lance's team. It now sports far better move type diversity and just in general, far better moves. We've replaced a Dragonair for Arbok. Visually they share a similar body shape, and I recall some people commenting Arbok for Lance or Claire in my Fixing Johto video. So here you go guys, this one's for you. It's Garyoke, or Blue I suppose. As his team varies depending on what start you picked, I think the best way for me to do this is I'll first cover his team with Charizard, and then afterwards I'll say what Pokemon get replaced, if he has the other starters. So to start with, Blue leads with a Pidgeot at level 61 with Wing Attack, Mirror Move, Sky Attack, and Whirlwind. Starting strong with a base 35 power Wing Attack, pretty good stuff. Sky Attack is strong but isn't great as you're still vulnerable to damage unlike Fly. It can miss and it didn't get its bonus effects, 30% flinch and high crit ratio until Gen 3. Also apparently this move was 200 base power in the Let's Go games. That actually seems like a pretty decent move. Mirror Move is kind of cool to be honest. I like in concept but in execution it isn't amazing. And lastly Whirlwind is just a lackluster move here. Out second is Alakazam at level 59 knowing Psybeam, Psychic, Reflect and Recover. Can't really complain about this moveset. Psybeam is a bit redundant, but with the limited AI giving it much else would probably hinder more than help. And with Reflect and Recover, this is a solid moveset for the AI. Definitely one of his scariest team members. Next out is Rhydon with Leer, Tail Whip, Fury Attack and Horn Drill. From one of the scariest team members to maybe the worst, let's run down all the flaws here. Leer and Tail Whip do the exact same thing, waste of a move slot. Also, they fail 25% of the time. Fury Attack has an 85% accuracy and is a mere 15 base power. It is also a 75% chance to only hit 2 or 3 times, and a 25% chance to hit 4 or 5 times. Horrible move. Lastly, Horn Drill only works if Rhydon's speed stat is higher than the player's Pokemon. It has a speed stat of 40, so essentially this will do nothing, considering all the static speed the player's Pokemon will have by now. Even a slow Pokemon is probably going to outspeed. To sum it up, this Rhydon is lucky if it does anything to the player's Pokemon. There's always that 1 in 1,000 chance it will Fury Attack crit 5 times in a row, I suppose. These 3 team members, Pidgeot, Alakazam and Rhydon, don't change at all if the rival has a different starter, but the next 3 do change, forming a Fire, Water, Grass core. Now we have Exeggutor at level 61 with Hypnosis, Barrage and Stomp. That's right, 3 moves. Eggy only gets 3 level up moves in Gen 1, no stab, no special moves. Hypnosis is painful though, and Exeggutor does have a decent attack stat, so it's not free by any means. It's just a lot of wasted potential. Then we have Gyarados at level 63 with Hydro Pump, Dragon Rage, Leer and Hyper Beam. So identical to Lance's Gyarados. It's okay, just nothing great. Lastly, it's Blue's starter. Charizard at level 65 with Fire Blast, Rage, Slash and Fire Spin. While it's got some decent tools, Fire Blast is great, Slash auto-critting is a solid physical option, and Fire Spin, while inaccurate, can be a pain to deal with if the player doesn't outspeed Charizard. And then Rage is maybe the worst move in the game, as it locks Charizard into using it forever, until it faints. Can't even swap out, just stuck using Rage. So if it clicks that, then basically GG. But that's not all. Let's go over the different Pokemon Blue has if he chose another starter. So if Blue chose Blastoise, which replaces Gyarados in the team, he'd also have an Arcanine for his fire type. That'd be level 61 with the moves Roar, Leer, Ember and Takedown. Roar and Leer are terrible. Ember was maybe impressive for Viridian Forest, but not the champion battle. and Takedown is just a mediocre normal move, so really not that good. His Blastoise though is more interesting. At level 65 is Hydro Pump, Blizzard, Bite and Withdraw. 2 powerful special attacks. Blizzard, if you remember, has 90% accuracy. Bite isn't great, but could be worse from what we've seen. And Withdraw, at least it can't fail like a Growl can. Lastly, if Blue has a Venusaur, then it'll have Gyarados and Arcanine, and Venusaur has replaced Exeggutor. At level 65, it'll know Growth, Mega Drain, Razor Leaf and Solar Beam. I like Growth here, it's essentially Calm Mind, and since it's normal type, it is a boosting move that won't soft lock Blue. Razor Leaf auto-critting is a super solid offensive option, but it doesn't work with Growth special boosts, and, well, Mega Drain is weak. Solar Beam is strong but takes 2 turns, but both moves can be useful if there's already been some Growth used. The main problem here though is the lack of move type diversity. Pure Grass offense is not a great idea. Too many types resist. So to put simply, Blue has some hits and misses. I'd say his best starter is Blastoise and worst is Venusaur, unless Charizard uses Rage. I'm going to fix his team and display it in a similar manner to before, and then at the end I will show off each team variation he has, one after each other, just so it's easier to visualize how each of his team looks. Also, fun fact, he has a full restore for each and every one of his Pokemon, but only has a 1 in 8 chance of using it when below 20% health. So to start with, Blue's Pidgeot is going to be replaced with the best normal flying type in Gen 1, in my opinion, Dodrio. It'll be level 63, it'll know Drill Peck, Double Edge, Body Slam and Hyper Beam. I wasn't too sure if I wanted to change Blue's team at all, as it already has many good team members, but I eventually gave in. Blue's replaced team members before, so it wouldn't be unprecedented of him. So Dodrio sports a better flying stab here, more attack, more speed, and better normal spam for the last 3 moves. Stab Hyper Beam being rather scary opener, along with decent crit chance, gives Dodrio a decent chance to OHKO the lead Pokemon from the player if it doesn't resist it. Next out is Alakazam at level 63, with Psybeam, Psychic, Reflect and Recover. Yeah, this is the same moveset. It's already really good and doesn't even differ much from a competitive set. Although they'd run Thunder Wave, we can't really do that here as we risk Alakazam being hard countered by any flying or water type, because of his good AI. Out third is Jolteon at level 63 with Thunderbolt, Pin Missile, Double Kick and Thunder Wave. Truthfully, I only decided on this in editing, so I re-recorded this commentary, so I probably sound a little bit different, sorry about that. But I feel Rhydon just has too many weaknesses and is slow, and I'd rather use something the player won't have really encountered yet. So with an amazing speed stat, we can use fast Thunderbolts that crit often. Pin Missile destroys the grass types, as most of them are 4 times weak to it, since Poison is weak to Bug in this gen. And Double Kick, while not great, does help a little against the ground and rock ground types. Lastly, Thunder Wave is there to spread stats around. Paralysis is a very useful status to inflict in Gen 1, so Blue wants to capitalise on that. After that, it's Exeggutor at level 64, knowing Psychic, Mega Drain, Sleep Powder and Reflect. Now we actually have stab moves and a more accurate sleep move. Reflect also will make this Pokemon incredibly bulky, maybe banking on a crit from a fast Pokemon would be a decent option to deal with this. Out 5th is Gyarados at level 64 with Surf, Thunderbolt, Blizzard and Hyper Beam, sporting electric coverage to help differentiate it from Lance's Gyarados. This Gyarados still similarly utilises its decent special and amazing move coverage to hit a wide array of Pokemon super effectively, as well as that trusty Hyper Beam from big damage coming off of its base 125 attack stat. Lastly out comes Charizard at level 65, knowing Fire Blast, Slash, Earthquake and Swords Dance. In Gen 1, Charizard's physical and special attack stats were essentially equal each other, so a mixed attacker here makes sense. We have a very powerful stab Fire Blast, we kept auto crit Slash for a nice neutral option. Lastly, we have Swords Dance to boost its primarily physical moveset. Charizard has a decent Gen 1 move pool despite a lack of flying stab, so of course we have to capitalise on it for the final Pokemon in the final fight. So this is Blue's team if he picked Charizard, but let's see what would change if he picked Blastoise. Well, firstly he'd have an Arcanine at level 64, knowing Fire Blast, Flamethrower, Body Slam and Dig. So I'm not going to play it safe here, I'm going to give Arcanine Dig like I gave Blaine's. People have mentioned the Dig glitch making the Pokemon invulnerable to damage if it's paralysed on the second turn of Dig. Although I believe in most cases good AI will mean that Blue would like to use Dig again, and a successful Dig does undo the glitch state. This is the same with Pokemon I've given Fly to. And you know what? This is hard mode, you shouldn't have paralysed them in the first place, and if you did paralyse them, play around it and fix it. Manipulate that AI. And then Blue's Blastoise at level 65 with no Hydro Pump, Ice Beam, Body Slam and Earthquake. So Blastoise also has a solid move pool we're capitalising on, and similarly has balanced offenses so it can really make anything work. Earthquake and Ice Beam are solid options to deal with the electric and grass types aiming to KO this lad. So here's Blue's team for Blastoise as a starter. No Gyarados and no Charizard this time around, but the other 4 remain the same as is Charizard's team. Lastly, if blue picked Bulbasaur, then he'd have Gyarados and Arcanine again, and his Venusaur would be at level 65, knowing Sleep Powder, Razor Leaf, Body Slam and Mega Drain. Venusaur's move pool is the shallowest of all the starters, but it was the hardest for me to settle on. I could have foregoed Sleep Powder or Razor Leaf and replaced it with Growth. However, I've decided to opt for the immediacy of Razor Leaf's power and Body Slam for at least being coverage for Pokemon that resist grass moves, which is a lot considering 20% of the Pokédex is part poison type. So strangely a tough decision on Venusaur's moveset, but at least it has some strong moves in its kit. And so this is Blue's team if he picks Venusaur. Overall though, I do like Blue's Pokemon choices. I approve of champions that have a diverse team that covers their weaknesses, and I appreciate Blue having Fire, Water, Grass core that changes depending on his starter choice. Just like in my fixing Johto's Elite Four video, we have not increased the champions level at all. It's both level 65 in the original, and in my version. But we've elevated the weaker Pokemon, and Elite Four members to close the gap slightly, and give them far more threatening movesets. Johto Elite Four had some stinkers, but I think original Red and Blue Elite Four takes the cake. I had a lot of fun fixing the original game's Elite Four. I'm going to have a go at fixing the awful original movesets. While I completely understand how limited the devs were back then, it is just a bit of fun at the end of the day, and I absolutely respect how well they did for a passion project from a small dev team, so of course there'll be flaws we can point out easily after seeing the many years of adaptations and improvements the series had. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what game I should take on next. Emerald and X and Y are what I've been seeing most of anyway, but who knows? Thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a good day. See ya.